Lesley's next stop is the Doncaster Archives, 10 miles away, to try to find out exactly what happened to her great-great-grandmother, Mary.
So Doncaster Archives is down this road somewhere. Ah, here it is. Archive department, fantastic. Mary Ann Garrett died on the 12th of April, 1899. She was 57 years old, and she was the wife of Charles Garrett, who was a butcher and a farmer. Death from poisoning by carbolic acid, accidentally administered. Oh, for goodness sake. Wow! By whom?
Carbolic acid was the standard disinfectant of the day. It was used both at home and in the workplace. Mary's death may have been reported in the local paper, the Doncaster Chronicle. The microfiche of the paper is held at the town library.
Shocking death. A wife accidentally poisoned by her husband. Mr. F.E. Nicholson, District Coroner. Mr. F.E. Nicholson, District Coroner, held an inquest at the Red Lion Hotel. They held inquests in pubs, this is good, on Thursday morning. Reaching the bottle off the mantel shelf, he poured out a tablespoon of the contents into a wine glass. The medicine bottle was also on the mantel shelf, and it too was labelled and similar in shape to the one containing the poison. I don't believe it. And after she had drunk, she said, "Oh, Charlie, you have given me the wrong stuff." He said, "Oh, for God's sake, I hope not." He gave her some milk and sent for Dr. Mortimer. But his wife died in about 20 minutes. Personally, the coroner had known Mr. Garrett for a number of years, as had all the jurymen. That sounds impartial, doesn't it? The jury returned a verdict of death from carbolic poisoning accidentally administered. My great-grandfather just said sorry, gave her the wrong bottle, and he was believed.
Mike Green used to be a pathologist in South Yorkshire. He's going to talk to Lesley about her great-great-grandmother's death.
Good evening.
Hello, Mike.
Hi, Lesley. Nice to meet you.
Thanks
Hello.
for coming. Come and sit down, please.
Thank you very much indeed.
I wonder if you can help me with this.
I'll try. Death from poisoning by carbolic acid, accidentally administered. Once it's absorbed, the first area that it hits is the respiratory centre. And so the classic description of these people is that they complain of transient pain,
Yes.
then they collapse, they go blue, they go sweaty, the breathing becomes more and more shallow, they might have the odd convulsion because of the deprivation of oxygen, and then they die.
A tablespoonful, he claims, he put into a wine glass.
That's enough to knock off a small elephant, I would have thought. Even in Thorne. But people were very concerned about this. There were about 200 deaths a year due to carbolic acid swallowed,
Yes.
as opposed to spilt, every year between 1890 and 1900.
Well, there's a lot about this report that puzzles me. For instance, he was in the kitchen and reaching the bottle off the mantel shelf, he poured out a tablespoon of the contents into a wine glass. The medicine bottle was also on the mantel shelf, and it too was labelled and similar in shape to the one containing the poison. This is presumably a bottle that he's very familiar with.
You would have thought so,
You would
yes.
have thought so, wouldn't you?
This is a bottle from the 1890s, says not to be taken,
Yes.
and you can see that anybody who picks this up
Would feel the riches.
But
Yeah.
you can see, holding these two side by side on the mantelpiece, you would have thought
Yes.
you would notice the difference.
He told his son Tom to smash the bottles. So this mistake couldn't be made again, it says.
Well, there was nobody around to make
Exactly.
the mistake on,
Yes.
was there? You know, the problem had died with the
This
patient.
is wonderful,
so,
isn't it? Yes. this was completely accepted by the jury, which again, interestingly, it says were all known to and friends of my great-great-grandfather. I don't know if that would have been typical for the time as well.
Oh, yes, it was. It was, 12 good, upright local citizens. And, of course, all of them had to be property holders in those days. They had to be householders. Everybody knew everybody else, especially in a small place like Thorne.
And the coroner appeared to be a friend of Charles Garrett's as well.
Oh, very convenient.
Isn't that extraordinary? But that wouldn't have been unusual.
Well, no, nowadays I think the coroner would have to declare an interest and possibly it would be moved out of area, but this was par for the course for the time. And, of course, if you were a solid, respectable citizen, there is no way that you would do anything to the wife of your bosom. Or is there?
No, I suppose not. No.
Till death do us part,
and
we won't help it along any.
Lesley's keen to tell her dad what she's uncovered about Mary's death.
Get in here.
Well, I've had a very interesting time.
I bet.
Yes, I think I've found the
So what you found out?
answer. Well, great-great-granddad Charlie did kill his wife, Mary. He actually poisoned her. He gave her carbolic acid to drink by mistake. allegedly.
Carbolic acid?
Carbolic acid.
By mistake?
By mistake. He was supposed to be giving her a tonic, and he mistook the bottle of tonic for the bottle of carbolic acid. We found the death certificate, which refers to the coroner's report, which was all done within 24 hours. Within 24 hours, they'd gone into the pub next door, the Red Lion, and they'd convened a jury, and the coroner had come, and they'd decided unilaterally that it was an accident and that great-great-granddad was not to blame.
That will explain the rift that must have happened between Charlie and Tom and Mary, my granddad and granny.
Derek's grandfather Tom and his new wife Mary began to cut themselves off from Charles soon after his wife's death.
Mary was the strength of the marriage. She was known in the family as the Duchess.
Tom is Charlie's son.
That's right.
So there was a rift between them.
Oh, yes.
Between them. I didn't know
there
about
must have been, because no matter how I questioned my dad, he didn't know anything about Charlie, his granddad. Didn't know a thing.
So he was kept away from him.
He was kept away from him by either Tom or Mary, or Tom and Mary, but I think possibly
But why?
Mary.
Because of this accident? Because of all this killing?
One of the things could be, I suppose, but remember, my granny Mary was very religious.
Yeah.
And she was very into temperance things. And if there was any suspicion that public houses or alcohol had come into it at all, I think she might have put the shutters up.